In the United States, the American dream has long symbolized the promise of freedom, opportunity, and a better life for all. At its core, it's the idea that hard work and determination lead to success, regardless of where you start. However, when we measure the dream through the lens of the Social Progress Index, the SPI, the story of the United States becomes more complicated. The SPI serves as a powerful tool to evaluate how well countries like the United States and Germany embody the promises incorporated in the American dream. By focusing on outcomes like health, safety, and equal rights, rather than just economic success, the SPI asks whether a country truly provides its citizens with the social environment that allows for opportunity to thrive and build a better future. Social progress in the United States has been declining since 2011, and the country now ranks 29th globally. Countries like Germany, Japan, South Korea, Slovenia, and the UK all outrank it. So despite sustained economic growth, the lived experience of Americans is worse than it was 13 years ago. Meanwhile, Germany ranks 10th on the SPI, excelling in key areas like basic human needs and opportunity. This contrast is crucial because the SPI doesn't just look at economic success. It measures how effectively countries turn that wealth into tangible improvements for their people's lives. Germany, with a lower GDP per capita than the US, 14th globally in 2024 compared to the US's 8th, excels in health, environmental quality, rights, and voice, aligning more closely with many of the ideals that are incorporated in the American dream. In contrast, the United States, despite its economic growth, has seen struggles. Some notable weak areas for the United States include safety, ranked at 70th, behind Kazakhstan, health, ranked at 40, behind Greece, and rights and voice, ranked 51st, behind Ghana. Additionally, poor rankings in housing due to dissatisfaction with affordability, advanced education due to failing academic freedom, and inclusiveness due to discrimination and violence against minorities highlight broader societal challenges. Because I live in Germany, I'll focus on comparing this year's SPI scores between the United States and Germany. And if you're curious about other countries, you can explore the full report online at socialprogress.org. Hi, I'm Allie, and I've spent the last 15 years as a college-level educator and academic researcher in communications, working to help people critically analyze the narratives that many people in the US grew up with. One of the most enduring narratives in the US is the idea of the American dream, that anyone can achieve success and opportunity through hard work. But living in Germany for the past 5 years has given me additional perspective. It's allowed me to further question some of the myths that I was raised with, particularly those tied to the American dream. Like the USA is the freest country on earth with rights and opportunities unmatched anywhere else. Or that the USA offers more opportunities than any other country, providing everyone with a fair shot at achieving their dreams. This video will dive into how these myths hold up when we look at data like the Social Progress Index, and how countries like Germany may align more closely with two of these central ideas: the promise of opportunity and the ability to improve one's quality of life. By doing this, we can break down some of the beliefs behind the American dream, as well as identify clear areas for improvement, not just in the USA, but also in Germany. And for my fellow educators, I'll include ways to use this video in the classroom in the description below. Before diving in, let's borrow a tip from my How to Spot US Propaganda video and play a follow the money game. The Social Progress Imperative is a US-based nonprofit focused on advancing global social progress through data-driven insights. Its flagship product is the Social Progress Index, and it evaluates countries and regions worldwide based on their social and environmental performance. SPI's financial support comes from a mix of foundations, corporations, and individual contributors. And while detailed financial statements do not provide a complete list of donors, some key supporters are publicly known. For example, the Skoll Foundation, which invests in social entrepreneurs to drive large-scale change, has historically funded the SPI. Jeffrey Skoll, the first president of eBay, is the primary funder. He established the foundation in 1999 using his wealth from eBay. A supporting organization with the Skoll Foundation is the Silicon Valley Community Foundation. This foundation is primarily funded again through contributions from individuals, families, and corporations, many of whom establish donor-advised funds to manage their charitable giving. Notable donors include, for example, Reed Hastings, the co-founder of Netflix, Mark Zuckerberg, the Facebook founder, as well as the founder of WhatsApp, the founders of GoPro, and they've all announced major donations to the SVCF, which funds the Skoll Foundation, which funds the SPI. Professional service firms like Deloitte have also collaborated with the SPI, offering both financial support and expertise. Deloitte has been involved in promoting the Social Progress Index and integrating its insights into business strategies. The European Commission has also partnered with the SPI. They've developed regional social progress indices, indicating potential financial contributions or resource sharing. SPI's funding reflects a blend of philanthropic, corporate, and governmental interests. This diversity highlights both the potential strengths and bias in the data that they provide, critical factors to consider when we're analyzing their work. It's important to note that government organizations worldwide use the SPI to adopt data-driven approaches to policymaking and resource allocation. Local authorities like the Brent Council in the UK have implemented the SPI framework to prioritize resources, prevent crises, and empower communities. And in Mexico, SPI metrics guide policy decisions at federal and state levels, enabling more targeted strategies. With that context in mind, let's dive in. We began the video by discussing the US's declining rankings over time. So how does that compare to Germany? Germany has consistently ranked among the top nations in the SPI since its inception in 2011. Although the global ranking has fluctuated slightly, Germany holds 10th place, maintaining a strong performance in key areas like basic human needs and opportunity. While Germany ranks 14th globally for GDP per capita, its SPI success is not driven by economic growth. Instead, it reflects the country's focus on social well-being. Key highlights of Germany's SPI performance include rights and voice, where Germany ranks 2nd globally, far ahead of the United States, which we said ranks 51st. This high score reflects advancements in legal equity, individual liberty, and freedom of peaceful assembly. The second area to think about is that Germany ranks 15th in health, significantly performing the United States, which we said ranks 40th. Despite its strengths, Germany faces challenges. Rising housing costs have strained citizens' feedback about affordability, and it ranks 48th globally. Diets remain low in fruits and vegetables, placing Germany at 72nd. And perceived freedom over life choices ranks relatively low at 55th, although still higher than the United States at 83rd. Overall, Germany's lived experience as measured by the SPI remains among the best globally. The country's consistent improvement over the past decades reflects resilience and a strong commitment to social progress. Let's explore what these rankings mean and the best and worst rankings for each country, and the key insights from the 2024 Social Progress Index. So how does the SPI work? It defines social progress as the capacity of a society to meet the basic human needs of its citizens, to establish the building blocks that allow citizens and communities to enhance and sustain the overall quality of their lives, and to create the conditions for all individuals to reach their full potential. Unlike many national measurement systems, the SPI focuses explicitly on non-economic measures of national performance, treating social progress as distinct from, though associated with, traditional economic measures like GDP per capita. It's organized into 3 overarching dimensions: basic needs, foundations of well-being, and opportunity. Basic needs assesses how well a country provides for its people's essential needs, like adequate nourishment, basic medical care, clean water, sanitation, shelter, and personal safety. Foundations of Well-Being evaluates residents' ability to access basic education, communicate freely, benefit from modern healthcare, and live in a healthy environment. It also measures environmental quality, critical for both current and future well-being. Opportunity measures the degree to which citizens have the freedom and ability to make their own choices and pursue higher education. This dimension includes people's rights, freedom of choice, societal inclusivity, and access to advanced education. Each dimension is further broken down into specific components. Basic needs includes nutrition and medical care, water, sanitation, housing, and safety. Foundations of well-being includes basic education, information, communication, health, and environmental quality. And opportunity includes rights and voice, freedom and choice, inclusive society, and advanced education. With these components, individual indicators then provide more detailed measurements. For example, life expectancy at 60 falls under the health component of the Foundations of Well-Being dimension. Basic sanitation services falls under the water and sanitation component in the basic needs dimension. The SPI relies on a wide range of reputable data sources to ensure accurate and comprehensive measurements. These include international organizations such as the WHO, the United Nations, and the World Bank, along with global surveys like Gallup World Poll. Additionally, the SPI incorporates data from specialized agencies and research institutions for specific indicators, such as environmental quality and personal safety. This use of publicly available high-quality data ensures consistency, reliability, and global comparability. A full methodology and detailed explanation of the study is available on the SPI's website. Now, let's compare where Germany and the USA excel and where they struggle on the SPI. First, let's look at where the USA ranks well and how that does in comparison to Germany. Comparing the United States to Germany, I was surprised to note that the USA has the 8th highest GDP per capita in the world, outranked by countries including Luxembourg, Singapore, Ireland, Qatar, Switzerland, Norway, and the UAE. Whereas Germany has the 14th highest GDP per capita. However, as we mentioned earlier, the SPI is explicitly focused on non-economic aspects of national performance, so this just provides context. Therefore, the SPI indicator is independent of this GDP measure. Let's start with where the US excels. The US ranks 29th overall and shines in some areas. The first is advanced education, where the US ranks first for quality-rated universities, and Germany comes in third. 5th for women in advanced education, and Germany comes in 6th. And 13th for expected years of tertiary schooling, where Germany comes in 31st. Also, the United States ranks well for vulnerable employment in 9th place, where Germany comes in just after them at 10th. Now, let's look at the Foundations of Well-Being dimension. In the gender parity in secondary education, both the US and Germany rank first globally. For mobile phone subscriptions, again, it's a tie at first. Environmental quality, 8th for particulate matter pollution, with Germany in 25th. Access to online governance, the US ranks 10th, with Germany at 32nd. Now, let's look at basic needs. The US is first for access to electricity and clean cooking technology, which they share with Germany. And third for child stunting, but Germany comes in first. Here's the thing. While the US performs well in these specific areas, the broader picture tells a different story. Let's take a closer look at where Germany not only excels, but highlights systemic differences that affect the quality of life on the national scale. Germany's strongest dimension is the Foundations of Well-Being, coming in 8th globally compared to the US's 30th. Germany excels in environmental quality. Germany ranks 8th for species protection, and the United States ranks 92nd. Germany is 7th for recycling, and the United States is 97th. And Germany is 15th for lead exposure, but the US is 30th. In the category of health, Germany ranks 5th for access to essential health services, and the United States ranks 11th. Germany ranks 12th for equal access to quality healthcare, and the United States ranks 89th. Now, this is the first time we're seeing the use of country experts aggregated evaluation, so I want to take a moment to explain what that means. It means that it's an assessment compiled from opinions of experts familiar with a specific country's political and social systems. So specifically, this data comes from the Varieties of Democracy project. It examines the intersection of healthcare, quality, and democratic functionality across countries. But who is the Varieties of Democracy? It's a project that's an extensive international research initiative. It has received financial support from various institutions, including the European Commission, the Bank of Sweden, The Knut and Alice Wallenberg Foundation, Sweden's largest private research financier. The Canadian International Development Agency, it's a government agency funded and operated by the Canadian federal government to manage international development and humanitarian aid initiatives. Overall, the VDIM project is funded by a diverse array of sources, including government agencies, international organizations, private foundations, and academic institutions, and independent research grants, helping to ensure that the independence and comprehensive approach to studying democracy worldwide. Okay, now let's move on to Germany's second strongest dimension, which is opportunity. They're ranked 12th globally, compared to the US's 25th. As we mentioned before, they're ranked second for rights and voice, where the US is ranked 51st. For these reasons, including being 5th for freedom of assembly, where the US is 43rd, 9th for political rights, where the US is 48th, and you will note here that the evaluation was conducted by Freedom House. Freedom House is a US-based nonprofit organization. It is primarily funded by the US government alongside private foundations and individual contributions. When saying Freedom House is funded by the US government, it means the organization receives grants and financial support, primarily from government agencies, such as the US Department of State and the US Agency for International Development. However, its Freedom in the World report is funded by the Dutch Postcode Lottery, Google, Meta, and a variety of foundations. If you have any questions about the experts referenced in any of these indications that are based on evaluations by or expert opinions, I encourage you to follow the money and discuss in the comments. Now let's continue. Germany ranks 7th for equal protection, whereas the United States ranks 104th. Germany ranks 10th for freedom and choice, where the US ranks 24th, including Germany ranking 9th for public sector corruption perception, whereas the US ranks 22nd. And Germany has a lower proportion of young people who are not working, studying, or in training, ranking 13th globally, to the United States 40th. In the category of advanced education, Germany ranks 15th, but the US ranks 10th. Germany ranks 5th for academic freedom, and the US ranks 72nd. Germany's third strongest foundation is basic needs. It ranks 13th globally, compared to the US's 50th. They rank 10th for infectious diseases, whereas the United States ranks 33rd. Germany ranks 11th for maternal mortality, whereas the US ranks 61st. Germany ranks 12th for interpersonal violence, and the United States ranks 110th. Germany ranks 13th for satisfaction with water quality, but the United States ranks 38th. Now, this is the first time we're using survey-based measure, so I want to stop and discuss this a little bit more. First, the Gallup World Poll conducted by Gallup Incorporated is a global analytics and advisory company funded to capture opinions, behaviors, and well-being trends. It is funded through a mix of Gallup's international resources and external partnerships with governments, multilateral organizations, and private foundations, such as the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation. While survey measures can be valuable for capturing subjective or more nuanced insights into societal conditions, they are best used alongside indicators that provide a more balanced and comprehensive assessment. Combining both types of data, though, can help mitigate the limitations of each method. And these survey results are being used to track year-over-year changes in public opinion to help identify areas of concern based on people's perceptions and provide insight into social progress as experienced and defined by the population, while recognizing that subjective opinions might not always be objective measures of progress. For example, people might report satisfaction with services, but they're objectively substandard. By breaking down these comparisons, we see that Germany's approach to social investments and policy enables it to achieve a more equitable society, as well as a more sustainable one. But now let's talk about the challenges that both Germany and the US face. No country is perfect. Not even top-ranking nations have areas where they don't struggle. And honestly, this is where it gets real, because these shared struggles highlight opportunities for both countries to improve. As already discussed, Germany and the USA rank poorly in satisfaction with affordable housing. High housing costs are perceived in both nations, and Germany ranks 48th. But this is still better than the USA's ranking at 98th. Both countries also rank relatively poorly for their diet, low consumption of fruits and vegetables. German diets rank at 72nd, and the USA ranks a little bit better at 58th. Also, there's a lack of perceived freedom over life choices in both countries. Germany ranks relatively low at 55th, though still higher than the United States at 83rd. And they both rank relatively poorly in feeling safe while walking alone. Germany ranks 38th, and the USA ranks 43rd. Now this one surprised me. It's primary school enrollment. Germany ranks 49th, but the USA ranks 78th. And for the number of people reporting that they've had money stolen in the last year, Germany ranks 56th, and the USA ranks 80th. Finally, discrimination and violence against minorities is relatively high in both countries. Germany ranks 39th, but the United States ranks 102nd. I want to pause again here to discuss the Fund for Peace Fragile States Index. The Fragile States Index, the FSI, is an annual assessment developed by the Fund for Peace, a nonprofit organization founded and based in Washington, D.C. It serves as an early warning tool, guiding policymakers, NGOs, and international organizations in resource allocation and conflict prevention. The Fund for Peace is funded by government agencies. Support from entities such as the U.S. Department of State, the U.S. Department of Defense, and foreign ministries of countries like Canada, Norway, and the Netherlands. The private sector also contributes, particularly in the oil and gas industry, including companies like Chevron, AngloGold, Ashanti, and Tullow Oil. Foundations and think tanks also contribute, funding from organizations such as the Open Society Foundation and the Carnegie Endowment for International Peace. Unilateral organizations are also involved. Support from institutions like the United Nations Foundation and the African Development Bank. So what does all of this tell us? Let's go back to where we started, the idea that the US is the greatest, freest country in the world with the most opportunity. The numbers tell a different story. Economic growth alone isn't enough to guarantee a good quality of life. In fact, the US's declining rankings in safety, health, and the rights of people paint a picture of a nation that's struggling to meet its people's needs in fundamental ways. Meanwhile, Germany's higher rankings highlight what can be achieved when healthcare, educational quality, and environmental policies are prioritized. But let's be clear, no country is perfect. The takeaway here isn't just about pointing fingers, but about learning from what works where and addressing what doesn't. If the USA wants to top the list, a good place to start would be looking at countries with higher safety, especially those with lower interpersonal violence, ensuring freedom is equally distributed and accessible across social groups, and reducing discrimination and violence against minorities. If Germany wants to top the Social Progress Index, it needs to work on taking what works from countries that are higher performing, in eating more fruits and vegetables, that one really surprised me, increasing satisfaction with affordable housing, and implementing measures to reduce the number of people experiencing having money or property stolen in the last 12 months. Germany demonstrates how prioritizing social investments can lead to better outcomes for its citizens. And the US can take inspiration from these strategies to address systemic issues and create a more equitable society. Looking ahead to the future, I'm going to create a video where we'll connect the lessons to the myths around the American dream. We'll talk about what the American dream means and how it underpins much of today's US propaganda. And if this video gave you a new perspective or you learned something new, share your thoughts in the comments. Let's keep the conversation going.